Good.
Hello,
Right.
hello. Up the Thursday Club.
Up the toffee.
Welcome everyone. Episode 12. We got Sorare member Tornado and myself, Swiss Mafia, here again. Today we're going forward thinking, so focusing on rare thresh, specifically on the forwards, and we're going to give you a under 50 scorer and an under 45 scorer across the leagues. Before we get stuck into that though, boys, as we're focusing on rare ETH fresh, when you're setting up your teams and finding your strikers, is there anything, a bit like dating this sounds, isn't it? Is there anything you look for in your strikers?
Scoring goals usually is pretty key, pretty up there with me. But yeah, strong AA game. Strong AA game is always good, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like if they're not getting decisives, then if they're getting like 15, 20-ish on AA, then that's still a good forward option for me.
Yeah, I like mine to come with a moustache if possible. Yeah, I just want consistent starters who've got the ability to put AA in their game, so it gives me a solid baseline score, so I don't have to rely on them scoring all the time. But then I still waste money on loads of donkeys that don't do anything because I don't listen to my own advice.
So nice. So I'm hearing top lip game and AA are the key components that make up a good forward from you two.
Yeah.
I think I'm in sound agreement with that. The only thing I would probably add to that, me specifically, I tend to search for my strikers are on like the lower numbers for the cap, so like generally around the sort of the 40 to 45 mark, just because they can be a little bit more peaky. One such example is Bobby Reid, who I believe has managed to score over 45. How many times, Rick?
Oh, I don't know. Once?
I think it was once, wasn't it? Once in 25 games, which is really, really good. Your Ethan Hunt is going to go very well with that one.
It's a great tactic there. So yeah, I mean it does work, but not if you target Bobby Reid.
Scored so many goals.
Right, boys, let's get stuck into it. So
no messing around today. We're in.
No, we don't want to do any rambling. We just want to get straight into it. Americas or Asia is where we're going to start. Who wants to go first?
Johnny.
Go on, I'll go first. Come
on then, John.
I've gone for. I was going to do one American and one Asian, but there was two Americans that I just really liked the look of, so I've gone for two American lads.
Awesome.
My first one is Jason Russell Rowe.
Spelled with a C, isn't he?
Yeah, spelled with a C. Jacen.
So cool.
He is a young Columbus Crew player. Obviously, I've banged on about Columbus Crew, but they're the team I've watched the most in MLS, and he is not necessarily a player that's ready right now to perform for you every week, but he's a very, very talented young player. He's good on the ball. He's good in the air. He scored a lot of goals for Crew's second team, Crew 2, I think they're called, in the second league. He won the MVP in the whole league, the second league that is, last year or the year before. So he's got good pedigree. He's not getting a lot of chances right now. Obviously, Cucho Hernandez is come back into the fold as well. So he's not someone that's going to perform for you straight off the bat, but you can pick one up, I think, for, what was the last auction, 50 quid, roughly. I think that's going to future-proof your striking options, and he's still got a good 4 years of under-23 utility, and I'd like to think he's going to be a starter within the next couple of years. So I think he's a very good player. He should also be in the Canadian squad, I think, moving forward. So
nice,
solid option, I would say. My second player I've gone for another under-23 player, so a bit of double utility for you there, but I've gone for Kwadwo Opoku. If you know the chap, plays for LAFC. So LAFC is another team I've watched a fair amount of this year because I've got Dennis Bouanga, who's one of the goats of the MLS at the moment. So I've watched a fair bit of them. He plays on the opposite wing to Bouanga. He's sort of been starting and maybe benched the next game, coming on as an impact player. He's absolutely lightning. He's left-footed. He's a very good player, and he's still, once again, got another couple of years of under-23 utility, so his chances are only going to get only going to get more and more common. I think he's actually been linked with a move away a little bit to Europe as well, which is always a bit of a. I never know whether that's a good or a bad thing from an MLS perspective or a player perspective, because sometimes they can blend into the background a bit when they do go to Europe. But I think he's probably going to have a couple more years in America first before he flies the nest. But yeah, I think he's a very good player as well. I think you can pick him up for about 140 pounds at the moment, so slightly on the higher side, but plays for one of the best teams in the MLS. And I think he's a good option.
He's decent. I remember watching him at the start of the season back in March when he scored that 100. And it looked like he was going to be like the massive, the breakout smash of the season. I mean, he scores a decent enough on there, and he's played every game. So
he's dipped a little, but I think that's probably a good time to get him, to be perfectly honest with you.
Especially for a cap league as well.
Yeah, and it's only if he does stay, it's only a matter of time till Carlos Vela hangs. Yeah, I think he's getting on now. I think he's not quite the creative player that Carlos Vela is, but I think his opportunity is going to get more and more, I think, as the season goes on.
I like that pick a lot, mate.
There we go.
Ricky T, what have you got for us?
Hello. So let's do my high one first, as we're in the MLS. I went for Nicholas Gioacchini.
How do we spell that, man?
Nicholas space G.
There he is.
There he is. Obviously, my first instinct when you talk about the MLS is to go for Taxi Fontas. I've mentioned many times before. Only £123. He's a wizard. He's going back to form. But apparently, we're not allowed to just go on about Taxi all the time. I then did consider Benteke, who's right on the line of 50 L15 and £150, because he's very consistent and is pretty nailed as a starting striker. But looking to branch my wings away from DC, I've gone for this fella. Projected to start up front against Dallas this week. St. Louis started the season really well, smashing expectations, started to come down to earth a little bit, but he's still been putting out really good scores so far, and he's sort of got that position up top as a striker nailed, floating out to the sides a little bit, but expect him to start as that number 9 position this weekend. Last sale was £141. I believe there's not many cards of him on the market at the moment. I think he's one of those that's just been like a late release. So one to add on to your shortlist and pick up as they come out over the summer. I think he's got under 23 for another couple of years as well. So I like to have, if I'm going to invest a fair bit of money, getting under 23 is a bonus, because almost offers that security blanket of being able to resell at some point, because they're still young and people still crave under 23 eligible players to fill out that division. So yeah, I think he's a really promising young prospect for the new franchise.
Doesn't have a mustache though, so I'm surprised you've gone for it, actually.
Yeah,
barely looks like he's reached puberty, to be honest with you. So
nice kit though.
It is a nice kit, and that's a decent cat food actually. Purina, it's definitely one of the best ones actually I've found.
Don't say that to Rick, he's a supplier.
Yeah, I used to use Purina, but then my cat died, so I don't need to buy it anymore. So
oh mate,
lowered the tone there. Lowered the tone.
God.
Yeah, L15 of 50, so he's right on the line for this one, but his L5 slightly under, so let it go. My second pick, I have moved over to the J League, avoiding the K League with the uncertainty at the moment, even though you can probably get some good bargains in there. But I've gone for Mao sorry for butchering names all evening, but MAO space H. Yep. And you should find him there. He is Kashiwa Rezal. I won this guy as a rare reward a really long time ago and sold it straight away for the money. But he's a pretty consistent starter for them. And in Asia, where it's usually quite hard to rely on a player, you can usually rely on him to be playing, which gives good utility over the summer. He's a U23 till 2026. So again, same reasons as I used before. Got a lot of utility to come out of him, and it creates that safety net of being a U23 for quite a long time. And at the moment, he's got that super low L15. So if you're buying him right away, you can be plugging him in with that L15 of 41 at the moment, which is 42 it snuck up to. Something you like to see. £122 I had him down as his last sale, or lowest on the market at the time that I was looking. So yeah, I think he fits in nicely, nice low cap, and he sticks in those low scores when he doesn't get a decisive. So he will keep his score down for the time being, I think, because Kashiwa haven't started the season too well. But I like that hold long term and throughout the summer. So he's my second pick.
I like that pick. I won him as a prize last week, if you remember, or the week before. Yeah, very nice.
Okay.
Scored on the weekend. I didn't play him, but he scored, so that's a good sign.
Looks like he's got the odd peak in him, hits sort of 70s, doesn't he, when he gets his goals? Looks all right.
Yeah, not bad.
No
Well,
Tash,
sure.
though.
But yeah, you boys have promised a lot, and you're not really delivering on the old Tash game.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take you boys across to Argentina. No Tash here either. Oh, actually, I say no Tash. If you look closely, there's like a little bit of sort of schoolboy stubble going on there.
Nice.
He does look about 15, but
he does, yeah. Nahul Barrios is who I'm going to talk to you about. So he's San Lorenzo striker. One of the things I look for in my strikers is basically they have to be playing, as in playing pretty much every game. Because they tend, for me anyway, I don't know if you boys know this, but striker tends to be the position that always lets me down. Midfielders, defenders, I find a lot easier on the cap game to kind of get right, particularly if you've got Fukumori in your team. So yeah, why have I gone for him? Scores historically are pretty solid, like 40, 45s up to like 60s generally, with the odd peak as well. Plays every game. He switched to Cam recently, so I think there's like potential for a bit more in there as well. When he gets his goals as well, he can be pushed, or assists, he can push him towards the 90s with his peak scores. And then 107 quid, sort of last sale, 110 bottom of the market at the minute. I think his price is actually very reasonable. He's one of few people that's actually going up in terms of price. But obviously, if you zoom out again, it always looks slightly different. And I think in comparison to everyone else out there, he's a good shout if you're looking below that sort of 50 mark. So he's my first pick. Then second pick, I'm going to go back to the MLS. So Paul Arriola.
Paul.
So I've owned Arriola before as a midfield card, but got rid of him, and they've released a forward card of his, and he's on my list now, partly because he fits that below 45 or below L15. I quite like that he's got a 41 L5 because you know that's going to stay low as well. So it fits in with the cap nicely. He's their captain. He was actually linked to a big move to, I think it was LA Galaxy. And he's obviously on the fringes of the American squad as well. So he's a highly rated player who historically used to hit really good scores, but it's going for a bit of a shitty patch recently. So knowing what he can hit, I think Paul Arriola offers you big upside, and if he continues as he is, you're getting your 40-ish mark, which is on his L15 anyway. So you're not losing out. So they're my two. What do you reckon, boys?
Nice. I think I don't know about Dallas. Dallas, I think that's probably where his scores have dipped. They seem to have dipped a little bit as a team. I know they're not doing too bad this season, but yeah, I just think Dallas is suffering a little bit. So maybe if you could get a move to Galaxy or something, that'd be a hell of a move for him, for his scores.
Yeah, I missed who your first pick was because I was watching Danny Welbeck miss a sitter. If he scored it, he would have put me in a tier 2 rare, but he missed it, which kept the clean sheet for United draw. So it was a tough moment for me. But yeah,
I mean, you can't ask much more really picking Danny Welbeck as your striker. I know it's for old times.
Like a problem with strikers, though, I don't have as many as I do in every other position. So sometimes they're usually the crutch in my lineup. So I just run out of strikers to fill.
Same.
And I end up chucking in toss strikers, and then I wonder why I don't hit ETH or win anything because I've got an absolute lemon up front who plays for one from bottom and hasn't scored in the last 15. But
I feel like we say that. But I feel like we say that so much about strikers, and yet then I'll get some money in my account and I'll go shopping, and for some reason the midfielders just look more appealing because they're better names, or I don't know what it is, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to buy another midfielder, and then yet again I can't pitch a team, or my team's got Bobby Reid in it because I haven't spent money properly.
One thing that was good about your first pick, Jess, his AA game looked really good. He wasn't necessarily scoring many decisives, maybe because his team's not that great, but he was still getting sort of 10 to 20 AA every game. So, I mean, that's something to look for, isn't it, in a forward?
Yeah.
If you can get 50 from a striker that's not doing anything, then if you've got decent midfielders and defenders like you have, then you should hit the ETH threshold, really.
Yeah. I think midfielders and defenders, there's a lot more choice in there. There's a lot more value, and there's a lot more, fancy scores knocking around. Whereas, you got to pay up to earn that hard crust in a forward line.
Yeah, definitely.
I shit myself every time I buy a striker because I spend so long trying to get the right one because they cost more money. Like Swiderski is my most recent one, and to me that was quite an outlay at rare. And then as soon as I bought him, I spent like the next week just scouring the market, going, "Oh fuck, have I spent my money in the right place? Like, is he even going to do well?" Yeah, I don't know.
I think he will. I think he will do well. I think he will do well. I guess forwards is like the next step after goalkeeper, isn't it? Like goalkeepers are always like you really going to get like when you're buying one, you're like shit, they're going to get drops and instantly lose like 90% of their value. Forwards is definitely the second to that, isn't it? I always like to look for forwards that don't actually play forward, right wingers or left wingers, because then they tend to get a bit more goals in the game. Get other things, which is where the AA comes into place. So, like Iwobi, for example, like Iwobi's a forward card, McNeil's a forward card, Murray Gray's a forward card. None of them play. I know that obviously they're not that great anyway, but like they all play midfield. So,
yeah. Thanks for lowering the tone and bringing Everton into it. So we have enough of that on Tuesday.
Shut up, mate. Christ.
On that note, we should probably move on, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
where are we going now?
Next division, we're going to go Champion Euro.
He's going straight into the big boys.
Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but I was kind of both surprised at what was available for the price, and also then suddenly wanted to spend a lot of money.
So many good players, honestly, so many good players for that budget we gave ourselves. Like, it's crazy. I think a lot of them, probably about 50% of the cards I was looking at, are one move away, transfer away from being treble the price, which is a sort of bit of excitement in it. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So the I guess what we're doing now, we kind of focused a little bit on what you can get now for your money, thinking ahead, and we kind of touched on it. You get a lot more for your money going into next season, even now that people have been talking about it on the other pods. So, Rick, you go first, mate. Who is your champ U50 and champ U45 strikers?
Okay, so I will go with the 45 or lower. And I had a nice short list of sensible, safe picks. And then I saw this guy at the end. I was like, fuck yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And I've been trying to get him so far, but I haven't. It's Marcus Thuram at Mönchengladbach. I think his L15 is 45 at the moment. And 138 with his last sale, 149 on the market right now. Injured, just pick up an injury, I think. I don't know if it's him done for the season, but he is out of contract at Mönchengladbach, and it's already been announced that he's pissing off to pastures new.
Any idea where he's going? I haven't read any of it yet.
Standard newspaper links, the host of big Champion Europe clubs, United, Inter, Newcastle, AC, that type of. Well, he's not that desperate. That type of, just off the top level. There's not the Real Madrids, the Man Cities, but that second tier of European clubs he's been touted around. So, I think it's likely he's going to find himself at another big club. He's a French international player, isn't he? And, he's got a good track record, scores goals for Mönchengladbach. If he can go to, that next tier up of team, he's already proved he's a really good striker. And, L15 at 45, 138 quid. looking ahead to next season, that's someone I'd really like to have on board now, because I know you get a bit of transfer lottery coming in, but sometimes the best way to do that is to get in on those transfers and those young players early. And I can't see him ending up at a bad club. So Marcus Thuram at that price very much interests me.
Yeah, I think a
Really-
transfer
really good
lottery
player,
is
isn't he?
worth it. A transfer lottery is worth it when you target a good player. It's like you're less likely to get stung, aren't you? Because wherever they go, in theory, they should play, unless they go to a top club.
Yeah, he's only 25, and I don't see him ending up at a club in a worse situation than Mönchengladbach. I don't see him going to a bottom half table team or something like that. So yeah, going higher, I was stuck between two. The one I left out in the end was Brenner from Cincinnati, who's just moved to Udinese. He was 49 L15, £113 going in the summer, just been announced. And I really like his attributes and the way he plays. And it just made me think he'd be similar to Gerard Deulofeu over there, that same style of player. And he did really amazingly well over there. So he was the one I wanted to pick, but I didn't want to go for two gambles. So the actual one I picked at 47 L15, £84 is Dango Ouattara, if that's how you say his name. Probably butchering that one as well. The Bournemouth player. Moved in the summer, I believe it was, wasn't it? And everyone said, that was him ruined for SO5 and Sorare. But, he started to find his feet there and added in some good scores and getting that playing time back up. He's got a long-term contract at Bournemouth. He's got a long time under 23 eligibility for Sorare. So you're buying in safe in the knowledge that it's a bit more of a long-term hold. Bournemouth is safe in the Premiership again next year, so he will be not technically, but good enough. They're not going to go down from there. So, yeah, you'll get a Champ Europe striker again, already sealed for next year. Seems to be a progressive player. That was a big favourite on Sorare before, so people do know about him already. He has shown that ability to put up good scores and put up AA game with it as well. And yeah, I expect him to kick on again next year. So I really like getting that young long-term utility at a really reasonable price now.
Big fan, like that. He was on my list as well, and he's on my personal list as targets I'm going to try and buy pre-next season.
So yeah, he was originally on my list. Then he went off it when he went to Bournemouth, and now he's back on it. So yeah, big fan.
Nice.
Very good.
Is that both yours, Rick?
Yeah, that was Marcus Thuram and Ouattara and Brenner on the side.
Over to you then, JD. What have you got?
Okay, so both of my picks are actually under 45 for L15. So I just think they're diamonds in the rough. So I had to pick them both. They're actually both under 40 at last 15 as well, actually. So they're even more crap than I expected. But my first one is Andre Silva, Andre Silva. He is sort of someone who came onto the scene a few years ago now. Got a big money move to AC Milan from Porto. Big things were always really expected of him. He's not really hit those heights at AC Milan, and then he's had a couple of loans, one of which went permanent at RB Leipzig, and he started well at RB Leipzig and has lost his place. He's confirmed as leaving RB Leipzig at the end of the season officially, so he's going to end up somewhere. I think he's a quality player. I've seen bits of him. He's a very, very good player. He makes the Portugal squad all the time. He's going to cost you about 50, 60 quid at the moment. I think he's really worth the risk. If I had that money right now, I'm only like one ETH threshold away from picking him up, I think. If you look at his historical scores, so if you go all of his scores on SO5, he knows how to score goals. He scored really well at, if you go at the top, scroll up a little bit and go all. Yeah, if you go back a bit of time, I know you're going back a couple of seasons here, but he was a very, very good scorer. And this is what I was saying earlier. I think he's one good move, good fit transfer away from being an elite striker. And I think for £50, you can't go wrong with that. Eintracht Frankfurt. There we go. He could quite easily end up at a team like that. It's like he's tried to make the step up to a better team, and it's not quite worked out for him at AC Milan and RB. But yeah, I think he could easily go to someone else slightly lesser and be the main man there.
Do you know where I think he might end up? I got a sneaky feeling.
Go on then.
Wolves.
He does look like a Wolves player, doesn't he? He does
Yeah.
look like a Wolves player. Well, hopefully he doesn't go to Wolves because they're not doing particularly well at the moment.
Well, I guess Jimenez is on his way out, isn't he?
He could be. Maybe it'll work there. Maybe it would work.
He's that kind of player, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's still young. Like even if he did go to Wolves, he'd be worth more than £50. I think it's a good buy at the moment. My second
Solid Tash.
Yeah, solid track.
Best one so far, actually, John.
Thank you. My second striker, he needs no introduction. It is Richarlison. Oh, my ex-lover, Richarlison. I know you should never go back, but in this instance, I would go back again and again and again because I love that man. He only left because he had to, because we couldn't literally balance the books without selling somebody. Anyway, I don't think he's Brazil's starting striker. Literally a few months ago, he was living the dream with Brazil, scoring overhead kicks, starting for them every game. I think he had like 4 or 5 goals in the World Cup. Obviously, Tottenham thing has just really gone awfully badly for him. Tottenham in general, I think, are doing awful. Well, not doing that bad, but yeah, it's just not worked out for him at Spurs. I think he probably will stay at Spurs under a new manager. I think he could do really well. He's a quality player. I know you take the piss because he's Everton and blah 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 blah. But he is extremely good. Like he gets a lot of jip from commentators, etc. Quite rightly, because he does bitch and moan quite a lot. He does roll around, but he's Brazilian, so what do you expect? And I don't think his price is going to be any lower than the sort of £100 he's going to cost you at the moment. He could genuinely end up at a really, really good club in his life, and he's only 25. So I'd be picking him up, that's for sure. Get him in.
I mean,
I do agree. If they get a good manager that appreciates him, that comes in next, then he could do very well. But he has had a really crap season.
He's done an awful season, which for me is the perfect reason to pick him up because, I don't think he can get any lower than where he is currently. Like in terms of scores and price, it doesn't look good when you look back at his scores. But he's a quality player. Like it's only a matter of time before he becomes good again. So.
Yeah, he's a good prospect for next season. Likely a lot of things to change though. So yeah, I don't mind that pick actually.
There we go.
And Jadon Sancho's just come on. I needed him. I was 20 points off a reward. He's just come on, 25 points. I'm 5 points in the rewards.
Boom. He's going to concede a penalty and get a red card now, hopefully.
Yep.
So yeah, I had Richarlison on my list as well. Him and Django or Dango, however you want to call him, were my two. Both personal targets I'm trying to pick up for the exact reasons you've just gone through.
Nice.
Because as a cap 39, the only risk you got for someone like him is does he actually play? Because at cap 39, you're generally, even if he gets 10 minutes, you might lose out, say 10. But it's just those games where he's a sub or DMP when you're really going to get stung on your ETH pickup. So I guess the question would be, do you pick someone up like him if he's your only or your main striker for an ETH team? It's
a tough one. It is a tough one, and he is still. If you look at all the other strikers we're suggesting, he is still on that higher echelon of cost. But that's because he's a Premier League player, right? But do we think Son and Kane both stay at Tottenham this year? I don't know.
No, I think both leave. Yeah,
I think there's trouble in paradise over there. I think they do need a bit of a refresh. I think he could be someone they build the team around moving forward. I mean, he's signed a massive money contract there for years, so
I think if Kane's got any backbone or any dreams, this is the year he has to go.
He has to, I think.
I think Son might stay there because his season's not been too great. And, you could see Richarlison and Son either side of a new striker.
Yeah, they got Kulusevski as well, haven't they? Maybe Richarlison plays up front. I mean, he plays fully up front for Brazil, doesn't he? Maybe they have Kulusevski and Son anyway.
Tell you what would work: Andre Silva through the middle, Son
Oh.
Richarlison.
There we go. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I'm not
Heard it
sure.
here first.
Or he goes back to Everton. Come back, Rishi, please.
He won't go to the Championship. Can't afford his wages.
He's got class
Napoli
as well.
have just won the Scudetto.
Have they?
First time in 33 years. Clinched tonight.
Good stuff.
Wow.
Wish I hadn't scored tonight though, because I had the Udinese goalkeeper.
Might have a pizza after this.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, on to my pick. So you boys have named two that I would have actually had. Who else have I got? I've got Alain Saint-Maximin is my pick. I think I've clicked on someone else. You might have to use someone else. Yeah.
Alan.
Alan.
Yeah.
Alan.
So Alain Saint-Maximin, obviously he's been out injured. The reason I've picked him, so he's my below 50 player, but his L5 at 0 means that that's going to go down further. So he might end up being a below 45 player. I don't know what you boys think of him personally. I think he's a very good player, like explosive.
I think he's very good.
Like price-wise at 83 quid is, for me, too cheap for him. Newcastle, obviously, are a team that are building, and he's been a key part of that. He does get injuries, which you can see, like he's got a bit of a checkered history at times. But when he plays and when he's on form, he's like peaky as well. So for a striker, that's what, again, ideally you have in your cap team is someone who can hit those big scores and just get you that ETH. And we'll have the bonus of European football next season, we assume. So he's my pick number 1 at 83 quid as last sale. It's an absolute steal. Happy with that?
I looked at him too. I think this is what I was saying earlier. There's so many you could pick, but I think he's a very, very good player. I think he, like you said, has been injury ravaged a little bit, and that would worry me. He does seem to pick up a lot of injuries, and he's quite he does weird things with when he's moving around, doesn't he? He's quite I think that's probably why he picks up quite a few injuries. He's very explosive and does weird stuff, and he just picks up random muscle injuries. But yeah, Newcastle do look good, and I think he'll slot back in once he's back fit. That's for sure.
I think he's going to leave.
Do you?
I'm pretty certain he's going to move on. Yeah. I just don't think he's got a role in this team moving forward. With his injuries and coming off the bench a lot, I think he's an extremely good player, and I think he's going to get a really good move to someone. And be a really important part of. I could see him in France in the top division. I was listening to something the other day that talking about places he could go. So yeah, I really good
I saw
player
that as well. Yeah,
really good price.
Well, again, then he fits the profile, doesn't he? If you're gonna gamble slightly on someone who could be moving, pick a good player, and you should be all right.
Yep.
So yeah, he's number 1. Then my second one, Alexander Mitrovic. So Mitra,
Defense Minister Mitro.
Another L5 of 0. So again, this is going to get even lower for an L15. He's already below the L40 mark. So for me, if you're picking up someone of his quality who can slot in at say, okay, I know the floor is 263 at a minute, but he was available the other day for just over 100 quid. So you've only got to win 1 ETH fresh with him. And he comes back in. He always scores goals. I know he had that one season in the Prem where he didn't. But generally speaking, if he doesn't score, he's going to hit you around 40, which is it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world, especially if his cap is at 39, 40. It's not costing you anything.
Or he's going to headbutt a referee. There is that.
He may headbutt a referee every now and then.
Solid scores there, though. Christ, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's got your midweek international stuff as well, isn't he? Like
if he had a sexier name, if he wasn't Mitrovic, I guarantee you he's not available for 107.
I would not mess with him as well. He's a badass.
Oh no way.
Fulham been a lot better than people expected as well. So,
yeah. So he's again. We're talking about my personal list. I've dragged a few of these off, which it would be dumb if more than 3 people listen to this podcast. But
yeah, exactly.
My plan is to try and sign Mitrovic. Mitrovic is my number one target, and then I'll be going after Utara and Richarlison.
So you're going to have two Fulham strikers with Bobby Reed, eh? God, you're an absolute animal.
No, I'm going to make Bobby Reed train with the reserves. That's my plan.
Nice.
It's going nowhere.
You love a bit of Bobby.
I do love him, but not for earning ETH. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone.
I tried so hard to get Bobby super rare as well, and I kept getting turned down.
How do you feel about missing it?
If he goes Championship though, like if Bobby Reed goes back to the Championship, where let's be honest, he probably belongs, right?
Yeah,
he's
agreed.
He's a very good Championship player. He doesn't quite cut the mustard in the Premier League like most Everton players, but he could easily be a very valuable player in the Championship. Like someone like Josh Brownhill is in the season just gone sort of thing. I don't think Brownhill's going to be anywhere near as good in the Premier League now, is he?
No way.
So
no, it's always. I don't know if Burnley have got the money behind them to, put serious effort in. But
they have got a new. Did you see their new part owner this week though? JJ Watt is now owned in Burnley Football Club. Yes, and they did a really funny video, him and his missus, because I think his missus is a professional footballer in the USA.
Yeah.
Did some sort of funny skit about Burnley. I can't remember what was in it, but it made me laugh.
Why Burnley? That is so random.
I don't know. Maybe Vincent Kompany convinced him. I don't know. I wouldn't mess with Vincent Kompany either. So if he told me to do something, I'd probably do it.
He convinced him.
Convinced him to join his company.
Don't know that, Rick.
It's only marginally worse than the 0-0 draw I'm currently watching, but yes.
I thought that was quite a good
very
joke.
good one.
Makes me feel great that whilst I'm recording a pod with you, you're sat there watching the footy.
Yeah. If it's good enough for PSU fans, it's good enough for me.
Where's my dogs? Anyway, next league. We're going to go Challenger time.
Ooh.
Who wants to go first?
Go on, Rick. You go first, mate. In fact, shall I go first? You can watch your game because there's only a few minutes.
Yeah, okay. I promise I'll pretend to pay attention.
It's a lie. Straight out lie. Go on, John. Let's hang out for 10 minutes.
All right, mate. So my first one is Bruno Petkovic.
Bruno Petkovic.
That's the one. Yep. So, good lad. So he is a striker for Dynamo Zagreb at the moment. He's had a bit of an injury-ravaged season, but he is a very decent player. If you look at his historical scores on SO5, he's a very decent historical scorer. I always like to look at the history of their careers because, like, if they can score goals previously, they can score goals anywhere. So you're always just one move away from being really good. I think I read a article on Twitter earlier when I was researching him that there's rumours that he could be getting sold to a Turkish team, which I think would actually be a good thing. But the manager said that they want to play him as much as possible from now until the end of the season to try and get his value up. So I think he's going to play a lot. I think if he plays a lot and does well, they're either going to keep him or sell him for good money. So either way, I think he's going to get some good minutes. And if he can recreate the form of what he was doing historically, he gets in the Croatia team as well.
I was just thinking that he played at the World Cup. So
he played at the World Cup. Yeah, he's a good player. I remember watching a game he played at the World Cup. I think it was the game he scored, and he looked solid. He looked slow, but he looks very similar to sort of Giroud in the way that he plays.
Seferovic.
Or Seth, yeah. But good player. I think he is someone that's a little bit of a gamble, but at 60 quid or 75 quid, I think he's really cheap.
That was a full-on curveball. I like that. I never, ever would have picked him out.
Yeah, well, there we go. So,
good shout.
So that's my under 50 cap player. My second one, I toyed with a few players, one of which was Kevin Nisbet from Hib.
Me too.
I know Ricky owns a Nisbet or used to own a Nisbet. But I've gone for, it's a bit out there and he's very low value to me. I've gone for Petar Musa, Petar for Peter. and then Musa MUSA.
Benfica.
That's the one. So once again, I've watched a fair amount of Benfica this season. I own Rafa, I own David Neres. I did own Darwin Nunez when he was at Benfica. So I've watched a fair amount of their games. He's their sort of second forward at the moment. So he's behind Ramos up front for starting. Ramos, I think, is going to be one of the biggest transfers of the summer coming up. He's getting linked with a lot of big teams. I think has he been linked with Man United? I think he's been linked to United. I think he's been linked with Real Madrid.
Everyone.
I think it's likely
Everton.
I think it's likely Benfica cash in on everyone. Everton probably. Yeah. I think it's likely they cash in on Ramos this summer, and Peter Musa I think could be one of the main beneficiaries of that. He's a tall, sort of not particularly quick striker, but he's got really good touch from what I've seen of him. He usually does pretty well off the bench. If you look historically, I think he played for Boa Vista before Benfica and was a very good scorer at Boa Vista. You look going back a couple of seasons, I think, but you might have to click on all, I think, at the top to show his historical scores. But yeah, he's
another Croatian, mate, and he's made the squad. You like Croats?
Is he Croatian? Yeah. Is he? Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even realise that. There you go. I love the Croats. I think he is someone that could be a very sneaky pick for next season as a starting striker for Benfica. No, we know historically Benfica players are a very good stack to have, and I think he's cost you like £40 at the moment, 40 to 50 quid. I think he's a very low risk player to try and pick up.
He's the perfect second striker to grab, isn't he? And then just stash him.
Yeah, exactly.
If he hits it,
try and ignore all those orange scores you see on his SO5s. Like they are just sub appearances for 10 minutes. Like I think he's got the potential. That's for sure.
Like it. My one issue with him. Do you remember those circular cheese boxes that had little triangles in them? Do you ever see them?
Yes.
What? I can't look at his head without seeing all those triangles.
That's a very rogue out there. Interesting.
Well,
I mean, I can see what you say. He does have a kind of triangular face, but I'm not sure I see Derry Lee when I look at him.
Anyway, I like it. It's a good pick, strong pick. Rick, were you listening? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really like Derry Lee. Or Baby Bell. I don't mind a cheese string back in the day, or like a Lunchables, but yeah, wasn't for me. He does look like a villain's sidekick in a film.
I was just about to say, he looked like a Bond villain. He does look a bit like a Bond. It's got the eyebrows, isn't it?
Yeah, never heard of him, but I agree with all your logic there. So yeah,
there we go.
Like it. Right, my time to shine, isn't it? Was it you, Rick? Do you want to go?
I'll go if you want.
Okay, go on.
I am going to pick Kevin Nisbet.
Oh no, you actually had him, did he? I didn't realise that.
Almost made the list for Johnny. Did make the list for me. He's my under 50, coming in at 48 L15, £56. He was when I checked a couple of days ago. Big Niz has another year left on his contract in Scotland, has a really good goal scoring pedigree. Had some big injury problems, was out for a long time end of last season, but he has the ability to put in a good score. He's come back now, had a couple more issues, I think, since he's come back, but has been scoring for Hibs, who, aren't setting the world on fire. He's banged a hat-trick at some point, a couple of just games with double decisives, and he's had a lot of transfer talk, links to higher-up teams in Scotland. Lots of championship sides have been talking about him as well. So you do get a bit of transfer roulette here. And you've got to take the injury problems into account, but he's a really, really cheap price for a proven scorer. And if he stays at Hibs, I can get a full season out of him. I think he'd do really well. But the likelihood of is, with a year left on his contract, he's probably likely to move, because they're not the type of team that can afford to lose a star player like that for nothing in a year's time. Most of the teams he's been linked to are Challenger Europe teams. I think if you do really well in the Championship in England, overall, I like him if he stays. I like him if he goes. I think he's a really good price, and I really like his scoring potential. And he's still only 26, so as a full package, I really like that for the price point. I don't think there's a lot of risk there, apart from another long-term injury. But yeah, 56 quid he was when I looked at Kevin Nisbet.
So one thing, that's a really good pick. One thing I saw in the last 24 hours when I was looking at him was that he's getting heavily linked with Galatasaray as well, which I think would be a really, really good move for him also in terms of, as long as he starts, like Galatasaray is a pretty decent stack, isn't it, from Turkey?
Yeah, he's a bit ginger though, isn't he, in pale? I'm not sure he like the heat out there, but
that's true. That is true.
But yeah, that would be a good move for him. They've got some good players. I've seen a lot of their one-offs have been minted in the last week, and as I was having a look, some of them score really well. So yeah, that'd be a nice
choice, mate. He's on my shortlist. I think he's solid, isn't he?
Yeah. For my second pick, I would have liked to have Ricardo Pepe or Stengs as well, but they are on loan from Champ Europe sides, so I don't really think I could count them, even though I like both of them. So when I was looking through, I came across a right random shout that I'd only found out about 2 days ago, and his name is Emeka Eze, EMEKA space EZE.
Emeka Eze. I've never heard of him in my life.
Neither had I till 2 days ago, but he plays for Istanbulspor on loan from Eyüpspor. So he's playing in the top flight in Turkey on loan from a second division team. Istanbulspor were bottom in January, considered to be down, and they signed this guy to save the day. And got him from the lower division. His L15 is currently 44, and his price was 33 quid last time I checked. And as he's just gone up in January, he's only just started being minted. So as he's coming out, they're starting to come out now. So keep a track of them as they're coming out to pick up. Signed on loan in January. He's scored the goals to get them out of the relegation trouble. They've nicely cleared it now. It looks like they're going to stay up. And he's shown the ability to score really well in that top flight, even though they're in a relegation scrap. So surely, I don't know if they've got a permanent deal. They paid a fair whack to get him there. I don't know what the clause is, but I think he goes there permanently, or someone else in the top flight takes him, because he's really set it alight and made a lot of headlines over there. And when I was just looking at his stats and his performances and reading up about him, 33 quid. His first sale, that was his one of. So
it's worth a punt, isn't it?
That's an absolute bargain.
So maybe if 2, 3, 4, 5 come out, usually it's slightly less, aren't they? And one was only out last week, so it's not like he's picked up form since the one's come out. So I just thought 30 quid for someone doing that, and
I like that kit as well.
Yeah, so maybe they do better next season. Maybe he moves to a better team. But for 30 quid, that's the type of punty play I really like. And I couldn't find anyone at a lot more price I'd rather have than him. I'd rather take that punt. He looks quite scary as well, intimidating opposition defences. So I hadn't heard of him 48 hours ago, but now I'm recommending to you Emeka Eze at Istanbulspor on loan from Eyüpspor. There you go.
Nice. I like it. Emeka Eze, the Big Sam of Turkey. Great show. Right. My picks for you boys. They are first one through the door. Sorry for the delay.
That's all right. We'll let you off.
No, sorry, Cab.
That's not how you spell Seferovic.
There's no Seferovic here. Look at that hair. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Good Tash game going on.
Why is he looking up so much? What's going on up there?
I have no idea. Sorry, Cabba. Anyway, he has.
Oh no!
Have you boys what?
96-minute penalty to Brighton.
97. Let's take a moment to watch. Let's take a moment to watch Ricky's face. Who's taking
97-minute penalty?
McAllister.
4 minutes of added time added on, and in the 97th minute they've got a penalty.
Let me guess, it was taken out Matoma, was it?
Handball, Luke Shaw.
Sure.
Sure it is.
Liverpool very close to us in the league for us to be bottling points.
Brighton could catch you, couldn't they? Could Brighton catch you?
Brighton scored the winner in the 99th minute.
Is it in?
It's in.
Who took it?
McAllister.
It was McAllister.
Unlucky.
Anyway, drown your sorrows, have a beer. Let's get back to the show. Cabba. Sorry, Cabba is my pick. So he's been on loan at Cardiff this season. You boys know him?
I do know him because that was the guy that I got. That was the question. That was the answer to the question where I won that giveaway on Quinny's podcast.
Was it really?
There's only one player on the whole platform that is listed as playing for Cardiff, and I'd just been looking at Sorry Cabba as a purchase about a day before. So it was just coincidence. So it's a good little pick there, mate. He's
I looked at him a few weeks ago to just maybe buy him, but
I think, look at his price, 52 quid floor price, 49 caps, fits in with the L50, plays every game. He's obviously on loan there from Midtjylland. Whether he stays or not is another thing. If he stays, he's obviously proven that he can cut it at championship level. So I think he's a good option at that level. If he doesn't, then and he goes back to Midtjylland, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they play over the summer, right? Are they still playing?
No, Denmark don't. Denmark
don't. Okay, it's just Norway. Okay, well,
Norway,
I was assuming there might be some utility, so you're not getting anything from there. But for 52 quid, again, I think he's not proven quality like some of the boys we named earlier, but he's still a decent player for 52 quid, and he's proven he can do it. Part of me thinks he might stay at Cardiff, but I don't know if they're still in financial meltdown, to be honest.
They've pulled away from the relegation zone, haven't they, Cardiff at least? So
yeah. I think he's a good option anyway at 52 quid. And then my second choice, where we go here? So we're going.
Cardiff are safe. Yeah, they're 5 points clear with one game to go.
Perfect.
Oh, old shanky bollocks.
So, what I've actually done is named you the player in the next list. So, that's why I'm going to start again and name Lawrence Shankland as my first pick in Challenger. So, Lawrence Shankland.
How have you done that again?
Because I'm tired. Lawrence Shankland is a Scotland international, scores goals, starts every game, just about hits that below 50. He's also been linked a bit like Nisbet to like better clubs, i.e. Rangers, maybe Celtic at times. I can see him. He scored 100 his last game, but it was against Ross. He can't take a lot out of that. I can see him potentially moving to a better club. If he doesn't and stays at Hearts, then I'd be fine with that. Just historically, he's always scored goals, and for me, he's like Rick. You often talk about like having those 50 grinders. He's a forward at that, so you can reduce your risk at that forward position if you pick up Shankland, in my opinion.
I thought we said you couldn't talk about me being on grinder, mate.
He's also got the largest. He's got the largest forehead since Gervinho as well. It's pretty impressive.
That is impressive, actually.
He's the ex-Belgian lad. He played not Belgian, but he played for that Belgian team, didn't he? They got relegated.
Played for the team in purple, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Was it Beershot? Beershot.
Beershot. That's it. Yeah, Beershot.
Yeah. So he's my first pick, and then pick number 2 in Challenger. I'm going for a guy. I think Rick might have picked him up before. He knows of him. Tim Preaker.
No, but my favourite flavour of crisps is paprika.
Mate, I was just going to crack a joke about paprika. So, Tim Preaker, nice curly hair. He's got decent tash game going on.
Yeah.
Under 21, fits the cap very easily at L1540. L5 is 57, so obviously that will shift, but probably not enough to get you out of that zone. He's someone that I recently read a report around players to watch in Austria. They do the top under 23 players, and he was listed as one of the main players, which kind of put him on my radar. Between 75 quid and the floor is 111, so he fits in regardless of how much you have to pay. he scores goals. His historic scores are like quite a few that we looked at, like not the best at times when he's not playing, but when he's given 70 plus minutes, he tends to score a goal or assist. So for me, he's one that, again, might not be your first striker, but is someone you could put in as a second and you can make some money out of. That's my challenger, boys.
Nice. Why do Austrian clubs have about 17 sponsors on their football shirts? Like,
yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Why does that always happen? They're that short of money that they have to have like the bloody local toothbrush company sponsoring their armpits and stuff. Like, they love a sponsor. Anyway, then that's a good little buy, mate. Looks to be decent. Looks like a curly haired Neil will pay, if you ask me.
I like it. And finally, boys, we're on to Div 2. So 2 picks each from Div 2, under 50 and under 45. Ricky, kick us off, mate.
First, didn't you, Jess? After you've done one already.
Oh,
you may as well finish yours off, mate. Go on, treat yourself.
Yeah. So I would say another joke that has sorry related to it, but kind of killed that punchline. So sorry, Cabba is my U50 choice. Then my U45 choice has a little bit of playful banter to it. So I'm going for my U45 Division 2 choice for next season. I'm going to go for Mari Gray. So when Everton get relegated this season, I think there's going to be quite a lot of... And anyone who does stay provide you a good option potentially in the Championship. Again, they're pretty poor side, so I wouldn't have them pegged to go straight up. I
don't know this.
But I think they'll compete. Potential mid-table Championship side, maybe a bit higher. And I think Damari Gray in particular is someone who, if he does stay, an L15 of 40 at the minute, his L5 is even worse. It's going to be even lower. And you can pick him up for sort of 37 quid to 55 right now. For me, and John, historically, you've been a fan of his. I don't know if your feelings of him has changed. How do you reckon he'll fare in the Championship next season?
Go fuck yourself.
You can't recommend buying bin dippers on this podcast.
No, I mean,
I think that's quite a valid shout, John.
He's a very good. I mean, it's not a bad shout, to be fair. I mean, the best shout you said there was that anyone who does stay at a relegated team from the Premier League is usually a pretty decent option. Whether that is Everton or not, hopefully it isn't. But yeah, there's definitely some good options to be had down there.
He's my punty pickup. I guess the problem with any Everton one is, and I don't even know if you could predict this, like who actually stays if they do go down. Because if they stay up, I presume he stays and he plays fine.
I would say there'll be a lot of people wanting to exit, and also we will have to be selling players because we're in such financial difficulty that players, I'd say Pickford will go, Calvert-Lewin will go, because they're our 2 highest value players. Probably Anana will probably go actually as well. So we've got to keep somebody, otherwise we're not going to be able to fulfil our fixtures. So Gray will probably be one of them.
Yeah. Gray and Holgate, prop them up.
Fucking Holgate.
Anyway, again, we've had enough of Everton. John, I should probably pass the mic to you now.
Yeah, go on then. So, as similar to what you've done, actually, I've actually gone for a current Premier League player that's definitely getting relegated, and that is a Southampton player. I've gone for an old favourite of the Sorare managers. It is Paul Onuachu.
Ooh. I was preempting you on Shea Adams.
I know, I saw that, yeah. So, Paul Onuachu, obviously, if you know Sorare, you know Paul Onuachu. He was pretty elite at Genk. He's tried to make the step up to the Premier League for Southampton. Hasn't been a sure starter at all. Hasn't really played a huge amount. I don't think he's even scored or got an assist or anything for Southampton since he's been there. But I don't think that's necessarily his fault. I think that's the Southampton is so awful that no one's scoring well. But I think he's a player. Southampton, I would like to think, are relegated. They're definitely going to go down in my eyes. I think they're 4 points or maybe even 5 points below us. And we're awful. So it must be flipping awful. I think Onuachu's probably going to stay there. He's only just joined Southampton. I don't think he would be on megabucks because coming from Belgium to England, he's probably only on about 30 grand a week, I'd imagine. So he's the sort of player I can see staying in the Championship. He's like 6'7". He'll probably do really well in the Championship, and I'd say the Championship is probably at a similar level to Belgian top league, roughly. So I think he's somebody that for what is he costing you at the moment? 50 quid. If you look at historically, like he was going for probably more like 500 quid, right? When he was at Genk. So if he can recreate his Genk scores in the second division for Southampton, then I can see him definitely rising in price big time. He's someone that whoever I said earlier, I can't remember who I was going to target as well, but Paul Onuachu I'm definitely going to target as someone I'm going to try and buy in the next month or so if I can get the ETH together. But yeah, he's my first pick. He's miles under the cap as well. He's got physicality. He's built for the Championship. He's literally built for slugging around, scoring goals. But yeah, my second pick is another one that may be breaking the rules a little bit because I'm not sure he's going to stay in the second division. But I've gone for Timo Pukki. He's confirmed as it's TEEMU.
Yeah.
He's confirmed as he's leaving Norwich in the season. Obviously, he's a Norwich legend, so they're going to be a bit sad to see him go, I'm sure. But he is going to. It hasn't been rumoured where he's going to yet, but he could easily go to another second division team somewhere else in Europe. I reckon at 33 years old, I'm not sure he's going to go to a Champion Europe division. He could maybe do a job at a sort of slightly crapper team in the Champion Europe. I'm not sure, but he can do it at the highest level. He scored goals in the Premier League for Norwich when they were awful. So like, you know, he's got the pedigree. He's got international utility as well for Finland. He's 50 quid at the moment as well. I think he's really cheap, and he's still only 33. Like I know he looks really old, but he's not that old. I don't think he's going to be retiring in the next sort of couple of seasons. And even if he does sort of revert back to a lesser team, you could see him going to MLS or something even potentially. And
look at those. Sorry to interrupt you, mate. Look at those international games. I mean, they're pretty low standard, aren't they?
There we go. Yeah, is that fixtures there?
Yeah. So because obviously he's not going to have a club at this point. He just shows his internationals, and
there we go. See,
they're very poor teams.
Yeah, I just think it's another one of those players that is a bit of a risk, but very low risk. I've sort of changed my forward buying strategy during this to get some players that I think are going to leave or their circumstances are going to change that are really dirt cheap, because all these strikers I'm finding for 50 quid, I think they're an absolute bargain, to be honest with you. So yeah, he's my second one.
Yeah, it's just all on the move for him, isn't it? Where he goes.
Exactly. Yeah, it is a risk, but I can't see him going to like Saudi Arabia or something. I don't know. Maybe he does, but I doubt it.
All right,
Ricky T, who you got for us?
Bumbao. Yeah, I was looking at Dossers that might get relegated. So yeah, my first thought was DCL, but I imagined he'd get sent on. Really, the players I liked. Strikers I liked in terms of getting relegated aren't confirmed as getting relegated yet, so I couldn't pick them. I'd like Brennan Johnson at Forest. He might stay because he's still young and a bit inconsistent. Bamford because of his injury problems. If Leeds go down, I'd see him having another good season in the Champ. Or Theo Bongonda at Cadiz. They're 1 point off the relegation zone. So yeah, I think he only signed this year, so I'd like him as a Div 2 striker. I think he's got a chance to stay as well. But I ignored all of those because it's not likely they're going down at the moment. And I went for, as my lower one, the guy who's going to replace Pukki at the moment up front in Josh Sargent.
Nice, yeah. I looked at him as well. I think he's...
So since Pukki said he was going to fuck off, Sargent has been playing up top for Norwich because the manager's not having any Pukki if he's not going to play, although I reckon Pukki starts up front this weekend for anyone that's got him for one last hurrah. But Sargent's started up top, so he's been getting a lot of game time. Started to put in a couple of goals. Slow start there. But Pookie was always the man up front for Norwich. So, this has allowed young Josh to take over. Under 23 option again next year. Norwich are confirmed to be in the Championship. So you get a lot of utility from that 46-game season. One of the bigger clubs collectively in the Championship. So you'd expect them to have probably a better season they've had now. They're languishing in and around mid-table. He's in and around the US setup as well. He started a few games, didn't he, when they were in England's group. So I think that always gives him the option of heading back to MLS in the future as well. But I think he will be up top or just in behind a new striker for Norwich next year. And I really like that utility, 70-odd quid. L15 currently, it was 45, so maybe it's 45 point something. But yeah, I like a bit of Josh Sargent for a second division striker for next year. And the other one I went for, this is the cheaper player, but the higher L15. My favourite takeaway is Hamburger, so I went to pick one of their players in Jean-Luc Dompe.
Jean-Luc.
I know this guy.
Domps. So right when they released the second divisions, I think he just moved to Hamburger, and suddenly everyone was like, "Oh, he's going to be cheat code in Bundesliga 2 from wherever he moves." Cheat code.
He's from Zolt Waregem, I think. Or was it?
Yeah.
Oud-Huuvleren, or however you could pronounce the name.
He was somewhere in there, but
Zolt Waregem.
Zoltan. But yeah, he actually didn't start very well at all there, and sort of all the chat about him disappeared. But he's got an L15 of 50. Price was 34 quid when I looked, for someone that was really talked up and has actually grown into the season and has put in some good performances and has started to get back in the starting team. And yeah, so there was a lot of talk about him when the second division's opened, but he didn't really light it on fire. But he has shown like nice peaks and ability to get those peaks for his cap score. He's contracted to 2025, so looks like a nice choice for a second division player if they don't get promoted. I think they're currently in third, and if they stay there, that would be the relegation playoff with 16th in the Bundesliga.
Ooh, yeah.
So small chance they go up, but I really like him as a second division striker next year when he's had a season under his belt and he starts firing next year. He's got a really low L5 at the moment. Bring that L15 down.
30 quid as well. 30 quid.
Yeah, that's cheap.
So Jean-Luc Dompe, nice age at 27. I think the hype train can reignite next year and get back on those rails, and let's all buy ourselves a one-way ticket to the Jean-Luc Dompe party.
Like it, mate.
Oh,
Love it.
That's the perfect note to finish on, I think.
There we go.
So that is 24 strikers that could potentially get you that bit closer to earning your ETH. So as always, we'll chuck them onto a short list which are available publicly, and we'll list it on our Twitter page. And then Rick, do a little spam for subscribers. You do.
I actually got something to say. We got our new private league starts tomorrow. Season 3 of Beat the Boys. Season 2 was actually won by the young man Dornado just down here. So it is a rollover month. At the end of this month, there'll be 2 solid rewards given out, rare rewards given out, and every week someone who finishes above us gets one of the limited prizes as well. So, and if you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, if anyone's still watching here, out of 3 people that started to watch it, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and you win a bonus limited every week. So double your money if you're a subscriber. So yeah, join that. I'll post the link and the code in the description below. I'll post a short list in the description below, and it'll be on our Twitter page as well. So get in there before the first Premiership game of the weekend and win some of our cards. Beat the Boys League. Let's go. And please like and subscribe before you go, because it makes us feel good inside when we see the numbers go up. And yeah, Johnny needs picking up after Everton gets thumped again at the weekend.
Don't. I can't take it anymore.
Cheers, boys. We'll see you next week up the Thursday Club.
Cheers. Viva la Thursday Club.
Up the bloody toffees.